Hey y'all, I'm your host, Aaron Smith of the Offshore Marine Service Association. Each Friday, I'll bring you the Offshore Briefing, a quick rundown of the week's notable developments, updates, and news you need to know in the offshore space. Whether you're on deck or at your desk, we're glad you're here. All right, welcome to another episode of Maritime in America, the Offshore Briefing. This week, we are coming to you from Lakewood Golf Club. We are out here during the AMSA Open, the annual AMSA member golf tournament. Just sent the teams out a few minutes ago. They are out, and we're sitting here, we the staff. I got Angel and Ashley with me.
Hello.
Hey, y'all.
Hello. I was about to say, it is, the clouds are finally covering, and it is cooled down about 20 much needed degrees. No, I lied. Maybe like 2 degrees. It's I think 94, and it is 8:48 in the morning.
We're sitting in a breezy area though, so luckily we're good right now. I don't know about later.
Yeah, maybe we should podcast all day so we can just stay in the...
Just live stream.
Yes.
Live stream the tournament.
Yes.
Yes. So if people remember, we originally had this scheduled in...
May 9th.
Yes, mid-May. And got rained out, so we're coming back in the heat of
Not
New
just
Orleans
rained
summer.
out, because we
Yes.
tried to play in the rain. It was lightning, thundering, flash floods. I mean, I couldn't have, I pulled the trigger to cancel it at 2:30 in the morning. So we tried. But now I remember why we do a spring golf tournament and not a summer golf tournament, because it makes a difference.
Yes, it does. But it's a great event every year. I know our members love it. Great time for networking, which is one of the main
And for
purposes.
eating. I'm looking at Seward Supply, Carl Center, and we've got Rely on New Tech out there cooking, and SKF Kongsberg and W&O are out here with drinks. So all is good.
Yes. And thank you to all of our member companies who come and cook and support. So it's always great. And I know we got a few podcast listeners out here because they're the ones who always remind us of what we say on the podcast, especially remind Ashley of what she says.
Correct.
So getting into what we've seen this week, I've seen a few things that I thought were interesting. Number one, I'm starting to really see, and I won't take credit for this.
But you are by saying it.
But I have seen that a lot of people in the maritime industry are starting to understand that executives don't need to be the spokesman of this industry, that we have a wealth of great stories like Rick Spade, like John and Cooper Fontenot, like our next guest that we're going to have on Maritime in America, Stacy Stanley, that these people are the spokesmen of our industry. And I've seen some, we try to highlight them with Maritime in America and with our YouTube channel and with our Offshore America Instagram channel. We try to highlight those stories, and I'm glad to see some other organizations are doing that as well and putting the mariner first. That's great to see, because this industry provides great opportunities and great stories, and we should be highlighting those. So I've seen that, and I think that's a great thing to see, and I've been really happy to see people doing that. The other thing, and the bigger thing that I saw this week, and I'm really excited to see this, was the Coast Guard changed a policy letter that it had been standing since 2016 on portable accommodation units, or as
PAMs.
Ashley's favorite acronym, PAM.
And all I think about is Pam from The Office every time we talk about it.
So, as we've talked about on the podcast, offshore vessels are kind of built as Swiss Army knives, and they are built to perform a variety of roles.
It's too hot to speak.
I know, it's too hot to talk. And so how you customize that vessel, or how you make it so it can do something else, is by adding portable units on that can be taken quickly on and off the vessel so it can do a specialized job. Maybe that's you need to inspect a subsea pipeline. Well, that requires what's called an ROV. You then have to have a machine shop for the ROV, and you have to have a control room.
Which stands for? Remote
operated
operated.
vehicle.
Okay.
Yes, a little subsea robot. So if you have to operate that and you don't have an ROV control suite on your vessel, well, then you bring on a shipping container that has that built inside of it. Well, industry, because this is, you're talking about a space that can be problematic. It has, you could have someone stuck in there, so that place needs to have the same thing that any other space on board a vessel would have. It needs to have HVAC services. It needs to be hooked up to the alarm system. If you're talking about a portable accommodation unit that's actual for accommodations, think like people are sleeping in there. You need to have, you need to have lavatories. That means you need to have water and sewage, et cetera. So you're talking about a wealth of units that do pose a risk. So because this is a safety-oriented industry, industry has created a very good way of checking and verifying and ensuring the safety of these PAMs. Well, and that system worked very well, does work very well around the world. And everyone knows the system for how these things are checked by what are called classification societies and certified as safe. Well, in 2016, the Coast Guard said, hey, industry's doing a great job of regulating the safety of PAMs. Let's mess up that system. And instead of having a well-known system, they created for only U.S. flag vessels a multi-step process for how the Coast Guard would allow you to have a PAM on your vessel. This system took months to complete. You would have to take all of your designs, send them to DC. They had around, on average, a 6-week turnaround time. Now, sometimes you would put a PAM on your vessel for a week. So now you have to send stuff off 6 weeks in advance for something that may be on your vessel for only a few days. That doesn't make any sense. Then after they would approve those plans in DC Coast Guard, you then had to reach out to your local Coast Guard and schedule a time for an inspector to come out and inspect the PAM on your vessel. So think about this. Your vessel could be offshore. It's working one job. It's going to come in for a day, get that PAM installed, and go to its next job. Well, what if the Coast Guard doesn't have the capability to inspect that day? Now you're stuck. Now you're going to lose that job. And again, this applied only to U.S. flag vessels, not to foreign flag vessels. So it made it real easy to use a foreign flag vessel instead of a U.S. vessel, thereby taking opportunities away from U.S. mariners. So AMSA has lobbied hard for a long time to get rid of this PAM policy letter and to revert back to those proven industry-based standards. And finally, the Coast Guard listened. Late Friday, they issued a new PAM policy letter. And it says that you can, for the most PAMs, for something that, unless someone's sleeping in there, living in there long term, that you can use that industry-based system where you get a class society like DNV or Lloyd's to inspect that. And as long as that PAM meets those industry-based, worldwide proven standards, the Coast Guard's fine with it. And you don't need to go singe all of your plans away to DC and send and have a coastie come out and inspect. This is a big benefit for AMSA members, a big benefit for the U.S. maritime industry. Something, like I said, we had lobbied hard for, and was very glad that we had Admiral Arquin with Coast Guard issued the new policy letter, and I know that also the advisor to the DHS Secretary for Coast Guard, a gentleman named Sean Planky, was instrumental in this as well. So we were really happy to see that Admiral Arquin and Mr. Planky were able to change this policy and apply some common sense, risk-based standards. And that was really good. And I think it will let U.S. mariners work easy in a safe manner. And so something we were really happy to see. So that was what I saw this week.
And I think it's important to note that the PAM policy, or the PAMs just in general, the foreign vessels, I wouldn't even consider it a module. I would consider it a tent with walls, and this is what they were considering. This is what they were using, and were allowed just to come. I mean, when you see the pictures, it's undeniable how ridiculous it was.
Now, Aaron, this change, it's not a full change. It's not a full removal of the policy letter, correct? Can you explain more about that?
Yes, it is not. It's not everything that we asked for, and there is some work to do. For the true accommodation modules, something people are sleeping in, a galley that is being used to prepare food, something with a higher risk, you still have to do that two-step Coast Guard process where you have to have plan approval and then you have to have inspection. But those, when you're installing those on a vessel, that's used for a longer period of time. So you have that time to make those adjustments. So it's not everything we asked for. It also, the PAM policy still only applies to U.S. flag vessels and doesn't apply to foreign flag vessels. We're going to continue to work to change that. And that might be something that we have to work with our friends in Congress to change. And I've been having a lot of those conversations. But it's a great first step and a huge first step. And really showing that we can, when the system works correctly, we can work with Coast Guard to find some common sense ways to get stuff done. Yes, and as Ashley said, yes, we have record upon record upon record of foreign flag vessels that have PAMs that would never be approved in arrangements that are wholly unsafe, that are working in U.S. waters. And it's that compliance cost and that time that lets that vessel go to work instead of a U.S. vessel. I mean, think if you're putting a box on a vessel and it's going to be used for a week, and the U.S. vessel has to have a approval that's going to take 6 weeks. Foreign flag vessel can do it tomorrow. Which one are you going to choose? You're going to choose the one that can go to work on the time that it needs to go to work on. And that's unfair. What I always say, and I'm sure that, coasties that talk to me a lot or industry folks that talk to me a lot, I'm sure they're tired of this saying, but I always say risk doesn't have a flag. If something's unsafe for a U.S. vessel, it's unsafe for a foreign vessel.
Agreed.
And the same rules should apply.
And I don't want to muddy the waters, but for better for better understanding, if for their foreign flag vessels, are they not following classification society standards either?
I believe they're following classification society standards, yes. But I think that you follow a class-based society, but you also have to have a check and balance on a class. And what a lot of flag states will do is they will just outsource all checks to your class. And so there's not a dual check of flag and class. And that's what this Coast Guard policy is for, is it has the Coast Guard, when necessary, doing the checks, but not on something that doesn't make sense to check. So, that's something where I think you have to have that regulator in your flag and your class society working together to make strong rules. And that doesn't happen in every flag. A lot of flags out there will just outsource everything to a class, and a class society will write a rule that makes it easy to apply. So, and that's not every flag and certainly not every class, but it's out there. It's out there, and that can take opportunities away from U.S. mariners. What else did everyone see this week?
What didn't I see this week? Honestly, this week has been absolutely insane. I can't believe it's Friday.
The week went by really fast.
It really has. This golf tournament is just taking up our time. I'm excited to be out here with everyone and get driving around to see and chat with everyone. That wraps up another episode of Maritime in America. We're proud to highlight the voices and stories that keep the American offshore industry strong. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us, and remember, the course ahead is shaped by those who step up and steer it. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your crew. Tune in every Friday for your offshore briefing, and don't miss our next full episode, dropping soon with a very special guest, Mariner's Perspective. Catch you next time.